Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Town Manager Download, a podcast about local government and the town of Shrewsbury. I'm Kevin Mizikar, the Town Manager of the town of Shrewsbury, and as always, I'm joined by Communications Coordinator Taylor Galusha.
In today's episode, we're going to be joined by Justin Dobson, Assistant to the Town Manager, to talk about accessibility in Shrewsbury and what the town is doing to improve accessibility.
So there's so much going on in town, Taylor. We just got to get right into what's up in the Shrew.
I think so. Who cares what's going on in our lives?
That's right.
Do you want to talk about town meeting really quick?
So town meeting's on the horizon as we look towards the middle of this month of November. We have special town meeting on November 18th, and that is preceded by a public hearing on all the warrant articles by the Finance Committee on November 7th. So a lot on the horizon. 14 articles, some technical and complex articles that are going to take some time and debate at both of those meetings. So looking forward to engaging and working our way towards that milestone of November 18th.
What can people expect at the public hearing for Finance Committee?
So Finance Committee, they will review all the articles, all 14 of them. They're starting at 6 o'clock that evening. It is a public hearing, so individuals will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide comment. And of course, the purpose of the public hearing is for members to for individuals not only get better informed, but also provide their comments to the Finance Committee, as they'll be making recommendations in their advisory role to town meeting later at the end of that meeting/public hearing.
Awesome. I think a very big congratulations is in order to the Recreation Department on another very successful truck or treat event. The photos looked awesome. I couldn't make it this year, but I heard for them that they guessed there was probably around like 4,000 attendees throughout the day. So
That's great.
Super well done to all of them. I know it's an all hands on deck event, so thank you to everyone that helped make it possible.
Also, another event coming up, I think, put on by the Recreation Department, Turkey Hunt on Saturday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I think it's the goal to find various cartoon turkeys around town with your family and participate in fun challenges to try to win a gift card to a local grocery store or a bakery to help with your family's Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, and there's more information on Recreation's webpage for that one. And then on the 15th of November, the police department's participating in the Stuff a Cruiser food drive from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the UMass Chan building on Lake Ave in Worcester. I know that they'll weigh the police cruisers beforehand, and then the goal is to fill your town's cruiser up the most. So
that's great.
For a great cause, and little competition in there. And last but certainly not least, the annual Veterans Day ceremony on November 11th will begin at 11 a.m. in front of the World War I Memorial, located in front of the former Beale School, and then there will be a reception for all veterans at the public library following that initial ceremony. So hope to see people there and to honor our veterans in the best way we can.
Yeah, certainly extend my gratitude for everyone who has served the country, and look forward to that event that we have here in Shrewsbury every year on November 11th at 11 a.m. So on today's episode, Taylor, we're going to have a return guest that we're both very familiar with. Justin Dobson is going to talk about his return to the office of the town manager. He was previously on the Town Manager Download talking about our cemetery and cemetery operations when he was in that program manager role. But coming back to the office, we'll touch a little bit about his day-to-day responsibilities and how he supports the select board and town manager's office. But more importantly, I think we'll get to highlight some of the work that we've been doing with regards to accessibility within the town on a variety of different levels, both through and with the Commission on Disabilities, but also working through our ADA plan that we've talked about through a couple different episodes on this program to to help overcome some of those obstacles that exist within the community around our public properties. So without further ado, we'll welcome Justin Dobson back to the Town Manager Download. Happy to have Justin Dobson back on the Town Manager Download. Justin, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
I know you were on a previous episode, but why don't you just take a couple minutes and remind folks, well, you can update them on your current role, but tell them about your interest in local government and what you've been up to since your last episode.
Okay. Yeah. So I joined the town of Shrewsbury in May of 2021, just a month before Taylor. I like to remind her of that. But no, I think the great thing about local government is we're most directly connected to our residents. So I had done an internship actually for a U.S. senator prior to working for the town, and it was a great experience, and did a lot of great work in that office. I felt very disconnected from the people that we serve on a day-to-day basis. So I think one of the great things about our job is we can help people with things that might seem minor, like a missed trash pickup. We can provide an answer or a solution to those individuals very quickly, whereas, legislation might take years and years and years to deliver the results that people want. So very happy and fortunate to work in local government. I worked in the office of the town manager for just over a year, and then transitioned to the role as the cemetery program manager, which was the role I was in the last time I was on the episode. Was in that role for just over a year, and then transitioned back to the office of the select board and town manager. In my current role as assistant to the town manager, I support both the town manager and the select board. So go to select board meetings, take meeting minutes, prepare materials as needed for those meetings. One part of my role that I really enjoy is the licensing aspect of it. So helping our small business owners sort of navigate some of the requirements and regulations that we have here as a town, and just helping them establish their businesses and make sure that that their businesses are running well, and that, again, they're meeting all of the requirements that we have of them. So I'd say between those two, probably the larger parts of my responsibility, supporting the board generally, licensing, and then various projects as needed, and obviously assisting residents on whatever issues that they have. So
Great.
Happy to be back.
Thanks for that update. We really appreciate it. One of the things that we want to key in on today is talking about improvements that we're making to provide more accessibility broadly, both access, physical matters, etc. So why don't you take a step back and just talk about what accessibility means for the town, and why it's important that we address some of these challenges.
Yeah. So I think when people think of accessibility, they think of, whether a building has maybe a push pad to open a door if you're a wheelchair user, or curb cuts to get up onto a sidewalk. But, of course, we pay attention to those things and are working diligently to make sure that we meet all those physical requirements, but it's also with respect to programs and services. So if an individual has a disability and they can't access a program in the current way that it's offered, we would make certain accommodations or changes to those programs as needed. So I know in recent years, one of the things that we've really been trying to promote the word out is if you need materials in large print for town meeting. One thing that we've been trying more earnestly recently is offering language access. So both captioning or interpreting if you need it. So it goes beyond just that physical aspect, but making sure that people can offer the services that we offer. I think one of the reasons why it's important is, just approaching 10% of our residents, according to the census data, are people with disabilities. And that really only captures folks who are under the age of 65. And the data will show that folks above the age of 65, your rate of disability or likelihood that you will have a disability only increases. So what I try to convey to people is that when you're making an investment in making your services or your buildings accessible, it's certainly benefiting the 10% of people who may have a disability now, But that's also investment for the future. As people age in our community, and we hope that they're aging in place and remain a part of our community, that they will benefit from those improvements. One thing that it's an idiom or a phrase that circulates in the disability community is the curb cut effect, and that references to when you have a curb cut in a road that benefits a person who may be using a wheelchair or a walker or some sort of mobility aid to help them get on the sidewalk, but it also benefits young parents who are pushing a stroller, or that Coca-Cola worker who's loading a case of product on a two-wheeler. So those investments benefit more than just people with disabilities.
I feel like we saw that in real time at annual town meeting, this past one with the closed captioning on the side. A lot of the feedback we got in that exit survey was like, we really liked the closed captioning. Can you actually make it bigger or put two on each side? So it's like, and I know I always listen to or watch TV with captions, so it's kind of like one of those things that it just, a lot of people actually do like and use.
They benefit from it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, that's just one example that Taylor just mentioned, which has been really meaningful. But how have we approached accessibility improvements within the town? I know on the previous episode we've talked about a 2022 ADA evaluation that identified a number of things that we could and should look at, physical spaces. But why don't we start there with some physical things and how we've approached those, and then move into other areas.
Yeah. So if people aren't familiar and haven't tuned into prior episodes, that plan was completed in 2022 by the Institute for the Human-Centered Design. The town applied for and got a grant just shy of $100,000 from the Massachusetts Office on Disability to essentially do an accessibility audit of all of our buildings, fields, playgrounds, etc. And they prepared a report showing, here are the things that you need to improve in order to make these spaces fully accessible. We're a town approaching our 300th anniversary. A lot of our buildings or fields or playgrounds might have been originally created prior to the ADA or prior to, updates to the accessibility code. So that was very helpful in sort of giving us a plan and a northern star, for lack of a better term, of anytime we make an improvement to a property or think about making investments in a property, that we would use that as a reference to make sure that we're addressing those items. So a few things that we have done is, since getting that plan, you need to have that plan in place in order to apply for project grants through the Massachusetts Office on Disability. And so we've been diligently applying for that annually. Last fiscal year, we were awarded $35,000 for assisted listening systems. So these are systems where an individual with a hearing aid could directly tie into the audio source. So that way they're hearing it directly in the ear as opposed to through a speaker where, feedback noise or ruffling of papers might be distracting or decrease that audio quality. Another thing that has been really instrumental is partnership with our state delegation. So both Representative Hannah Kane and Senator Michael Moore have secured earmarks for our community. So last year there was an earmark to make some accessibility improvements at Dean Park, which were used to pave a portion of the picnic grove as you enter it, and creating 2 new accessible pathways to get to the picnic grove. And then in this fiscal year, we have another earmark to make improvements to access the main bathrooms down by the lower fields as you enter the park and take a right. I think one thing that sort of gets left out of the discussion when we're thinking about capital improvement projects as well is, to my previous point, some of our buildings might be built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So one example being the old police station built in the 1970s. And when we replaced that with our new police station, there was plenty of ADA issues identified in the old police station. And just by making that investment in the new police station, we addressed 40 accessibility issues. So again, whenever making these capital improvement projects and investments, we're bringing these facilities up to current standards and making sure that they're accessible for everybody. Another upcoming capital investment project is in the Ray Stone Post. which is an older building, so it's got quirky architecture like door frames that have like a 6-inch lip at the bottom. So if you're a wheelchair user, you can't enter some of these doorways. And through ARPA funding, we've committed to a renovation of that space to be used by the recreation department in the future. So as part of that process, we will make accessibility improvements at that building. So
That's great. So Justin, let's go back. I know you previously talked about the closed captioning, and then you just mentioned assistive listening systems. Where are those assistive listening systems at, and what would someone need to do if they attended a meeting in one of these places in order to be able to access those systems?
Yeah, so we installed assistive listening systems at the fire department headquarters classroom, which was before the police station was constructed, more heavily used for some board and commission meetings, but it's still there because it is a public conference space. Both rooms at the senior center, those main larger meeting spaces, at the library, in conference room A, and in the selectmen's meeting room at town hall. So in 6 different spaces. What somebody would need to do in order to access them is just notify town staff that are present at that meeting. So there's a few different ways of accessing that technology depending on what technology the individual has. And I think that was one of the neater things about these systems, is it really meets people where they're at. So a lot of modern hearing aids have a Bluetooth component to it. So if you have a hearing aid that has that functionality, you should be able to directly connect to that listening system, and you're going to connect into the audio feed there. You would need to download an app, which is through Listen Technologies, which is the provider of the hardware and the software, and that would again allow you to directly connect. If you have a hearing aid that has a T-coil in it and not a Bluetooth capability, we offer neck loops, which sort of create this feedback loop, for lack of a better term, between your hearing aid and that neck loop, and that would help pick up the audio as well. And then if you are an individual who does not have a hearing aid but has some hearing difficulties, we have a receiver, which is essentially an old smartphone with the app pre-downloaded. You'd plug in a over-the-ear headset, and then we would provide that headset in that receiver to the individual, so that way they could connect into the audio source.
Great. Thank you. So a lot of different options, and if someone needs it, they just have to get in touch with kind of who's ever sitting at the front of the room at the table. And,
correct. Yeah, and it's great for people to let us know in advance as well. I think one of the things about accessibility is the accessibility code might require a certain solution, but that solution might not be the one that fits the individual's needs. So it's hard to sometimes make like a blanket solution or a blanket fix. So, we're always open. People are always welcome to contact us and say, I'd like to attend this meeting or, participate in this certain program that the town is offering, and here's what I need in order to best participate in that. And, that would be a reasonable accommodation request, and we would do everything that we can to meet that request.
So, Justin, we have a Commission on Disabilities that is an appointed body within the town government. What is their role, and what have they been up to? I know you provide a lot of support to that group.
Yeah, the Commission on Disabilities, as Kevin indicated, is appointed by the town manager, and then the select board confirms that appointment. Really, their charge under the general laws is very broad. It states that they're supposed to be consulted or that they would provide advice on any disability related matter. As town staff, or if you're a town board or commission or a town organization, whether affiliated with the town or whether you're a business or some volunteer group in the community, you can always reach out to the commission and say, here's something that we're implementing and we want to make sure that it's accessible for everybody, or that we're offering a certain program and it's tailored to people with disabilities. Can you provide us some advice on how to best implement that? So they're always, available as a resource, both as, people who are knowledgeable about the accessibility requirements, but people with lived experience. One of the requirements of a commission on disabilities is that a majority of the members have to have a disability. So definitely a great advisory board in terms of, advising us as town staff, but also anybody in the community should they need that advice. A recent initiative that they've reinvigorated, I know it had been implemented in the past, was an access award. So folks are able to nominate a local business that they have had experience with in terms of offering, great accessible services to people, being accommodating to people with disabilities and going above and beyond and making people feel, welcome and included in their business. But also, businesses that employ people with disabilities. So, folks can go on the town website and go to the Commission on Disabilities webpage where there's a Google form that you can fill out and nominate a local business, again, for either employing or offering, great accessible services. So they presented an award earlier this year to Stop and Shop prior to, the Stop and Shop here closing. Because the Stop and Shop had, several employees with disabilities. So if anybody, knows of a local business that they would like to nominate, certainly, you could reach out to me or, again, go on the town website and go on the COD's webpage and submit that nomination form.
Great. So where do we go from here? What are our plans? We did the study in 2022. We've made some measurable progress towards that. I know we're looking to make some investments in buildings, and you provided a good example with how, the police station helped us get 40 items off of that lengthy list. But where do we go from here, and how do we make sure that we continue these much needed investments?
Mm-hmm. So we've been applying for the Massachusetts Office on Disability grants annually. The grant program awards up to $250,000 annually. They have prioritized communities that have not done their planning aspect first yet. So last year we applied for, I think, up to 250. We're awarded 35. But the plan is every single year we would put together a series of projects to get to that 250 and apply for grant funding every year. So I think in last fiscal year they approved just over 50% of applications, but they awarded $4 million out of the $12 million requested. I do believe that there's been a commitment to increasing that bucket of grant funding by $1 million annually. So I think that would bode well for us as a community. And I think as we do these grant applications, we're learning more, and we've sort of developed an internal team between staff in our office, staff in DPW. So I think we're getting better at what the state is looking for in terms of these grant applications and putting that together. So we'll be diligent in submitting that annually to make sure that we remain competitive for those fundings. And then future capital improvement projects. So I know one that is currently up for discussion is the Municipal Facilities Optimization Project. That would make updates to DPW facilities at South Street, one of which serves as a polling location, and so everything we can do to make that as accessible as possible, but also some improvements at Town Hall. A lot of that would be accessibility related, updates to bathrooms that were built in the 50s and what have you. So I think between those two, again, referencing that plan whenever we're applying for grant funding, and then referencing that plan whenever we're going for capital improvement projects will help us make tremendous progress on that plan.
Well, this work has always been really important, and since 2022, I feel like we're able to really identify and measure the work that not only we need to do, but that we accomplish, because that has been happening over the years, and certainly ties in with a number of other initiatives through the strategic plan, and helping all community members and inclusivity and belonging, and it just ties everything together, and certainly working to be the best local government in the world. So we appreciate all your work to that end. We appreciate having you back in the office of the town manager and select board, and working towards supporting them in their meetings and other ways. So
Thank you.
Let's turn it over to the best segment. So Justin, we know that you're a avid outdoorsman, hiker.
Yeah.
You tend not to hunt for things, but you hunt for places.
For views,
For
yes.
views.
Yeah.
View hunter.
So, what is the best hike that you've been on, or a hike that was really enjoyable and you saw that best view that you were trying to get to?
I like the Tri-Pyramids, which is in New Hampshire.
What is it?
Tri-Pyramids,
Tribe. Okay.
it's a mountain,
Okay.
or maybe a couple in
Yep.
New Hampshire.
Or maybe three.
Or maybe three, yeah. No, it was beginning when I first started hiking. Just sort of picked it out of a list of the New Hampshire 48, which is the 48 peaks in New Hampshire that are over 4,000 feet. I was like, oh, that doesn't look too hard. And then I get there, and half the mountainside is like washed away. So the descent was beautiful, but very precarious. And then I'm reading the history afterwards, and it was, I think, like a torrential rainstorm had washed away a portion of the mountain. So I was like, in the future, I'm going to look up the mountain before I embark on it. Yeah. But it was great. Yeah.
So Taylor, it's going to be a challenge for me, but do you have any best hiking stories? Maybe this is a little part that shines a new light on Taylor in today's episode.
Outdoorsy.
Yeah. Outdoorsman.
I didn't get to do as much hiking this summer as I did last year because my roommate hurt her foot. So gotta go together.
Buddy hiker.
Can't be.
Yep.
I definitely cannot be trusted to be out in the woods by myself. You might not see me on Monday when I come back. Try to come back to work.
Yep.
But I did do part of the purgatory, like the actual chasm this summer. So I did some of the rock maneuvering, which I had never done before. We usually just do the pathways through the woods. Another good one that's like a lot smaller, back in Connecticut in Glastonbury, is called Cotton Hollow. It's like a freshwater spring, and there's some hiking like around it, but it's also like a place like people go swimming in the summer and do like cliff jumping, which I told my mom I wasn't gonna do, but then I got stuck up on a peak and I had to do it. It was the only way down. So hi Mom, sorry.
Did you helicopter into that peak, or how did you get up there and get stuck?
Going up was fine. It just was like a straight down to get down.
I don't want to go back down that way.
It was literally like everyone was like, we're jumping. I'm like, okay, I guess I will too, which doesn't bode well for the saying, but I think I would have gotten more hurt trying to climb down the side of the mountain. So
If your friend would jump off a mountain, would you? Yes.
the answer was yes.
That's good. For me, I feel like, now we're this deep into this hiking segment. We may have done this before, because
We did.
I have the same answer. So, I don't hike a lot. It's not something that I seek out doing. I like to run, but that normally stays away from mountains because it's not as fun.
We're doing a good one on Monday.
What are we doing on Monday?
I don't know what we're doing.
Oh.
They pick and then
Yeah,
go.
You're going somewhere?
Yeah.
To hike?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to say Acadia again, because that was like my one focused few days of quasi hiking in my life.
That's a good one though.
Never done it.
I've
I
never
want to.
been there.
Yeah.
Still remember the horse-drawn carriage ride the most.
Yeah.
It was on carriage trails, which are phenomenally maintained in
Yeah.
Acadia. I'm sure many people know that, but that was really fun.
Awesome.
But it was the horse doing most of the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of the work. Let's be honest. Yeah. So what's your plans?
There's a mountain in Ashburnham, Watatic, which is rounded and sort of the tree line obscures the view. So I usually do that and then continue further. It's part of the Mid-State Trail, which is a trail that goes from Rhode Island to the New Hampshire border. So if you veer off the trail there's a nice overlook. So that's usually what I do. Yeah.
Now that kickball's over, I can go hiking with them.
You veer off a lot of trails, or you normally stick to the trail?
Normally stick to the trail, but yeah.
That's good.
This one was there's a map to get there. It's not very well marked, but it's not truly bushwhacking into the middle of the the forest.
That's
So
That's good.
yeah.
Safety first.
We appreciate those updates and then the insight into your hiking adventures. Appreciate you coming on and all the work that you do on behalf of residents, especially in moving us forward with the accessibility improvements in the town and thinking in different ways beyond the physical accessibility and access that is so important to so many residents. Just a reminder to folks, if you have a question or comment, you can always reach us at tmdownload@shrewsburyma.gov. So thank you once again, Justin. On behalf of Taylor Galusha, I'm Kevin Mizikar. Thank you for listening.